few weeks ago, after JDM became the champion, the pound for pound rankings were updated again. And the biggest thing it left for me was wondering, how do they continue to disrespect Alexandre Pantoja, the most underrated and disrespected fighter in the UFC?
Yeah, of all time, maybe.
Yeah, right now, he is literally the best champion on the planet.
Yeah.
There is no champion better than him right now, with Ilya and Islam vacating.
And even then, Ilya only has one defense.
Yeah.
Islam is the guy. Like him and Pantoja.
If you want to give Ilya the slight advantage pound for pound over Pantoja because of the caliber of his wins, sure. Mm-hmm. You know? But when we're talking about the pound for pound list, and this motherfucker is
Whoa. You can't say that.
If we're talking about the pound for pound list, and this motherfricker is number 10, it doesn't make sense. This is maybe my biggest gripe over the last year.
Yeah.
All right?
It's been going since we started this channel.
So
I think when we started this channel, he was number 9.
he's gone down.
He's still number 9.
All right. So we have every guy who is ahead of Pantoja on the pound for pound list. He is number 10. And since he became champion on July 8th, 2023, we are going to talk about all of the wins that they have.
Wait, is he number 10?
He is number 10.
Oh my God.
He is number 10, the best champion, and you cannot argue against top 3.
She said she was 12.
So let's compare Pantoja to every other champion and every guy ahead of him. There's non-champions ahead of him.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 or 4 now. There's champions ahead of him.
I'm just like a spectator in this video. I'll let you do your thing, right?
I did all the research. Like, this was a video I did at like 12 o'clock at night. Just keyboard warrior, like, oh. But Pantoja, since he became champion, the championship win over Moreno, the win over Brandon Royval, the win over Steve Erceg, and the win over Kaya Sakura, plus beating every other guy in that division at least once.
Yeah, including Manel Cap, including Brandon Royval before that, including Brandon Moreno before that twice.
Kai Kara France before that.
Yeah.
He's beaten the whole entire division.
Exactly.
He is the only guy in the UFC that has actually cleared out his division.
Mm-hmm. And still isn't moving up.
Yeah. All right, so the number 9. So Pantoja is 10. So let's go look at the number 9 guy. Jack Della Maddalena. All right, just became champion. 1 championship win. Pantoja has 4. 4 is more than 1.
It's like teaching 5-year-olds.
But that's okay.
Uh-huh.
We're going to go and look at Jack Della Maddalena's wins since Pantoja became champion. All right, beat Bilal. Awesome performance. Before that, beat Gilbert Burns. Had a decent performance. Almost lost that fight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kevin Holland. Hood Jitsu. Can't argue it.
Yeah.
And then Basil Hafaz.
Basil.
All right, so in the last 4 fights, whose resume is better?
I'd have to give it to JDM. No, I'm kidding. No, that's what the matchmakers say. Yeah, no, obviously it's Pantoja. JDM has 1 championship win. And other than that, Burns, I would say, is the only really notable name on his resume.
Yeah.
A top 7 fighter of welterweight. And who's having a crazy fall off, by the way.
All right, let's go to number 8. Alex Pereira.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a guy that's not even champion lost his last fight, still ahead of him. Boom.
Mic drop.
Bonkers. All right, so since Pantoja became champion, barely beat Jan Blachowicz.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Yuri, beat Hill, beat Yuri, beat Roundtree. Are any of those names as good as Brandon Moreno or Brandon Royval?
I think Yuri's
on par with, I think, maybe Royval. I think Moreno.
Yeah. It's tough because he has actually fought in so much.
Yeah.
Right? So
they're pretty on par.
Yeah. But he's not champion anymore.
Yeah.
He lost.
So I think that, their resumes may be on par since Pantoja became champion.
Yeah.
But Pereira's not champion anymore. Lost his last fight.
Yeah.
Pantoja beat the guy in, the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can lose your belt and still be ranked higher than someone who is still actively winning.
Yeah.
You have to be shot down to at least number 9, right? Mm-hmm. There's 8 champions. You got to be shot down number 9 plus Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation. All right, number 7.
All right, let's go look at number 7. Alexander Volkanovski. All right, since Pantoja became champion, what is Volk's record?
2-2.
Oh, wow. Who are his wins to?
Lopez and Yair Rodriguez, the two featherweight goats. Yeah, it's not looking good, bruv. He's lost to Islam twice, by the way.
Yeah, but not since that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we're not including the other Islam loss.
Yeah, it's brutal. I think as much as I love Volkan, he is a goat of the sport. Right now, his current resume in the last couple of years, 2-2, is not the same as Pantoja.
Yeah, if we're looking at pound for pound like this, may as well have Stippy on here. Well, man, Stippy better be on here.
Yeah, at this
probably
point.
Henry Cejudo too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear the guy that's 2-2 is 3 spots ahead of the guy who is the best current champion in the UFC. But it's okay. Let's move on to number 6. Ankalaev. So do you remember when I said that 4 is more than 1?
Mm-hmm.
How many championship wins does Ankalaev have?
Well, according to your research, 1.
All right. So who else has Ankalaev beat besides Alex Pereira?
He beat the top 5 fighter Alexander Rakic, famously the worst top 5 fighter in the UFC, Johnny Walker, and then the no contest, which should have been a DQ.
Oh yeah, that's definitely better than what Pantoja's been doing, right?
Yeah, no.
That's better than Moreno, Royval, Moreno a couple of times. It's
crazy. The disrespect is crazy.
It's okay.
So right now, he should be at least number 6.
Yeah, right now he's number 6.
Okay.
All right. This is where you can start to talk about it. All right. Number 5, Dricus du Plessis. One of the best champions inside of the UFC. I think he might be the second best champion right now. So let's talk about what he's done. Beat Sean Strickland his most recent fight. Dominated him. Beat Israel Adesanya. Had a close win over Sean Strickland, which I actually had going to Strickland, but was 50-50, and then beat Robert Whittaker. That's a really good resume, you know? But when we're looking at pound for pound, Pantoja has one more title defense, and before that has some better wins. Has beaten the guys that he's defended against. It's like saying that Dricus beat Izzy twice on his way up to the belt.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
And beat Whittaker another time.
Yeah.
And then also beat Hamzat and Imavov and Barajo.
Yeah, that's the level of what Pantoja has done to the division.
Yeah, could you imagine? He'd be higher than Anderson Silva.
Yeah, for sure.
In the middleweight.
For sure.
Dricus, you can argue, but I would have Pantoja ahead of Dricus.
Yeah, it's tough because I think the middleweight division just has more name value. Mm-hmm. You look at the 4 wins and it's great. Like, I recognize all those names, right? Mm-hmm. And I recognize all the Pantoja names, obviously, as well. But it's like the caliber of fighters, they seem higher, even though Pantoja has wins over guys who have been champion.
And guys that might still be in their prime, where Dricus has beaten guys that are a little bit past their prime.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that Urseg also didn't deserve the shot.
Or even Asakura.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I don't know. It's tough.
It's pretty even, but with what Pantoja did before...
Yeah, with what Pantoja did before.
Not having losses in between it like a Volk, you know? All right, let's move on to number 4, which is Merab Dvalishvili. You know?
Where is he?
He's up higher. Merab is another guy who did a lot on his way up to the top. Has beaten a lot of the guys inside of bantamweight on his way to the top. But let's look at what Merab has done at number 4 pound for pound since Pantoja became champion. He beat Henry Cejudo, who old in his career had already retired. You know, he beat Sean O'Malley, which was a very good stylistic matchup, and he beat Umar in a 3-2. Those were both 3-2 unanimous decisions, both those fights.
Yeah.
I'm a big Merab fan, but I think what Merab has done as a champion and Merab has done since Pantoja became champion is not on the same level. And then if we're going to go and talk about what Pantoja did before he became champion, he also has a slight edge there.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I think that Merab's done a lot earlier on in his career, building his way up to the belt because of what Aljo, you know, that whole situation, didn't want to fight, which is totally fair. But you also look at the level of competition in bantamweight, it's also not that high.
Yeah.
Like compared to lightweight or featherweight, you know, and we'll get onto those divisions soon. But I think that flyweight, the wins that Pantoja has leading up to the belt, plus 4 title defenses,
title wins
compared to 2, it is just a different level.
It's double.
So right now, I would put Merab at 5. I would have Pantoja at 4 and Drickus at 3.
You'd have Drickus ahead of Pantoja?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Just barely.
I think it's very close.
Yeah.
They're neck and neck.
There's nothing in it.
Ilya Taporia at number 3. This is one where I'm like, he has the 2 best back-to-back wins in UFC history. You know? But what has he done since Pantoja became champion? 2 fights.
Really? That's it?
Yeah.
Since Pantoja became champion?
Yeah, 2 fights.
What about Josh Emmett?
That was before. It was like the week before.
Oh my goodness.
It was like the week
man.
before.
Also, that's not like a crazy legacy win.
Yeah.
You know, it's Josh Emmett. It's all right. It's a mid-tier fighter.
Holloway and Volk. You know, I think in this kind of situation, even-ish, but also Topuria vacated. I don't know if you can take that away from what he is on pound for pound, because it's not like it's the best champions list.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, you have Topuria. What happens if Topuria loses to Charles? Is Topuria going to stay ahead of him, and Charles going to go ahead of Pantoja?
Probably. You know that's going to happen.
After being 1-2 in his or we'd be 2-1.
Pantoja's going down to number 11.
Yeah.
Like, it is just crazy, you know? I don't know how the UFC can keep justifying pushing him down when a new champion wins, and they don't, like, let's say Topuria loses. Charles goes above Pantoja, Topuria stays above Pantoja. You can't keep doing that.
Yeah. At this point, I'm okay with Topuria ahead of Pantoja.
But if you think about it in terms of title wins as well as just overall resume, it should still be Pantoja.
Yeah.
Like, arguably, Drickus could be above Topuria.
Like I think beating a guy like Brandon Moreno and Brandon Royval multiple times is like on the way up beating Peter Yan 3 times, having 3 wins over Peter Yan.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or 3 wins over a guy like Sanhagen.
Yeah. And if Topuria or if Merab had that would be a huge boost in his career, you know?
Or for Topuria, 3 wins over I don't even know who.
Movsar.
Like 3 wins over Movsar or Lopez, like
or even like a Yair or Brian Ortega, like a name who's been around for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And I think you could argue Pantoja higher than Topuria for sure.
You can argue it. I think that in that situation, but it's like you're arguing for this guy to be number 3, but he's number 10.
Yeah.
It's a little bit redonkulous. All right, it's okay though. We're gonna move on to number 2.
Don't even talk about this, bro.
How many fights has current number 2 pound for pound in the world John Jones had since Pantoja became champion?
2.
1.
Okay.
That was before.
Okay. Well, there's 2 names on the research.
Well, there's a line right there.
Well,
so
I wasn't sure if I was.
That was a line. Well, he beat a 45-year-old firefighter.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Number 2.
Yeah.
It is absolutely criminal how they have him so high still. I don't get it.
All right, let's go and look at number 1, Islam Makhachev. Since Pantoja became champion almost 2 years ago, about 22 months ago, he beat Moreno for the belt. He defended against Brandon Royval. He defended against Steve Erceg, and he defended against Kaya Sakura.
And he's about to defend against Kai Kara-France.
Yeah. Since July 8th, 2023, the number 1 pound for pound in the world, Islam Makhachev, beat Volk on short notice, beat an old Poirier, and beat Moicano on 1-day notice.
Yeah. Number 10 ranked or number 11?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the argument for Makhachev being so high at number 1? What he did before? Are we going to talk about what he did before? Then why are we not talking about Pantoja's wins over Brandon Moreno with multiple championship wins? A guy like Brandon Royval who would for sure be a champion with multiple defenses if Pantoja didn't exist. Mm-hmm. Guys that are fighting for the belt, Kai Kara-France and Manel Kopp, who are top contenders. Mm-hmm. So what's the argument, UFC?
So Pantoja is technically number 1 ranked.
No, I think Makhachev is the pound for pound. He's
Yeah.
the best fighter in the UFC. But if you can argue the guy at number 10.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for Pantoja being number 2.
Yeah. I think
He could be ahead of Topuria. He could be ahead of Drickus. I believe he's ahead of Jones for sure.
Since he became champion, he has the most championship wins.
Yeah.
and he's tied for the most defenses.
I feel like this video is going to get so much hate, but if you're a hardcore UFC fan, I think you'll agree with this.
This is very different for our channel.
Well, it's me just listening. We should do this more often.
You're basically a viewer.
Yeah, it's great.
You could do some work. You could do one of the other videos. Looking at this, I think it's hard to argue Pantoja. If you think Pantoja is below 5, you should probably stop watching UFC and probably seek help. I would have him at number 3 behind Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, but I think it's very close between him and Topuria. Yeah. And I have Dricus slightly behind him and Merab at 5.
Yeah, it's a close top 5, I would say.
Yeah.
Merab, I think, is a little bit more separated, but yeah, I think they all have great wins, but the consistency of Pantoja in his last couple of years is pretty incredible.
Yeah, the only guy with more championship fights is Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for today. See you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.